are now ready for our next session, and our next session for today is transforming your business with meaningful productivity. And before I invite our speaker, Mr. Rajendran Dandapani, on stage, allow me to elucidate on his achievements. Mr. Rajendra is a founding member of Zoho Corporation. It's a business solutions evangelist. His vast expertise in conceiving and nurturing creative concepts into full-fledged software applications, and his role as president at Zoho Schools of Learning, Zoho's ongoing experiment in alternative education, make him a much sought-after person. Inspired by the golden age of Apple under Steve Jobs, he believes in aspiring to be insanely great at whatever he and his team decides to take on. Outside of work, he's an omnivorous reader, shares his hard-earned experiences from the School of Hard Knocks through his YouTube channel, which I'm sure all of you have been through, Quotidian's Rajendra Dandapani Presents. Thank you for joining us at, in spite of your tight schedule. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rajendra Dandapani.
Good evening. Good evening. I want to start with this book, How the World Really Works. I've been in software all my life, and until I bumped into this book 3 years ago, this is from Bill Gates' yearly reading list. And in this book, Václav Smil, the scientist who has written this book, talks about 4 pillars of all civilization. He says, all civilization depends on these 4. And they are ammonia, the gas that feeds the planet; plastics, bendable, flexible, useful, but sometimes troublesome; steel, again, recyclable and strong; and finally, concrete and cement that builds the world. Frankly, until I read this book, I did not have respect for the world of atoms. That's the world you are all from. I am from this world. The world of digits, bits, bytes. So the topic given to me was transforming your business with meaningful productivity, but I want to make a small change to the topic. Tell you the same thing, but under a different title. I want to call it Some Concrete Recommendations from the Bits I Know. These are the topics I have chosen for today, because irrespective of the domain we are in, we run businesses, there are people, there are resources, there are projects to deliver, and each of these will be important for us. Some of them that we shouldn't do, and some that we should do. I'll start with micromanagement. There used to be this advertisement from Lufthansa, which said, we test the people who test the people who test the people who test our airplanes. That was the importance to quality control and testing every little bit of it as many times as they could that they wanted to convey. But looking back at it 20 years later, I think this is probably an obsession gone too far. This is Thiruvalluvar, from the place where I come from, Tamil Nadu. In his 517th Kural, he says, Idanai idanal ivan mudikkum endraindu adanai avan kan vidal, which translates to, having found out that this person with these tools can do this job well, leave him alone. Let that person continue to do it. Do not be meddlesome. That was the message 2,500 years ago. This is Seth Godin, and he differentiates between who a manager is and who a leader is. The manager is very good at reproducing yesterday's work. If they had perfected it as a process, as a policy, as a simple step that they could follow over and over again, they will cut corners, they will optimize, they will extract the last bit of blood from stone. Managers are amazing at it. Yesterday's work, faster and cheaper. But what about leaders? Leaders, there are these three things. What is to be done? Why is it to be done? And how should one do it? So the leaders obsess about the why so that the employees, the individual team members discover the what and surprise the managers with the how. Do not obsess about telling them the how. This is Kathy Sierra. She's an amazing blogger and author. She actually came up with a very simple equation. She said, employee brain use is inversely proportional to degree of management. She calls it the zombie function. The more management you do, the less initiative and innovation your employees are going to show. In fact, she is a pony lover. She rides horses. And so she brings a beautiful analogy from the world of horse riding. It seems the horse has a seventh sense. Even if the rider nods off to sleep or makes a mistake, or probably a branch is coming that the horse is not going to be hurt by, but the rider's head is going to be hurt by. The elephant won't do it. The bullock won't do it. But the horse has a sense of, hey, the rider's head might be affected. This sense, the more you guide the horse with its reins, the less it uses its sense. Some of the great knights of Arthur's Round Table, they did not have reins. They just let the rein. The horses went in search of that beautiful damsel or the dangerous dragon and won them both. That is how modern organizations should run their team, is my request. I remember this scene from Dangal. I'm sure you do too. Volume?
बस सर आ गया
कल है भाई
दर्शकों द्वारा गीता का जोरदार तालियों से स्वागत.
The movie isn't complete without this scene. Because this is the scene. All along, the dad has been training the girl, teaching her every trick in the book. But at this moment, she doesn't have dad. And she is forced to invent a new trick that dad didn't know that dad would be proud of. That is what we all need to aspire as team managers, because this is when the student outdoes the teacher, the employee outdoes the manager. We saw it in real life too. 2011, in Wankhede, Sachin's swan song, World Cup final, the greatest spectacle probably. Sachin was out for 18. And I remember that scene where Virat Kohli lifts Sachin up. I'm sure you all remember too. And says, he has been shouldering the burden of the nation all these decades. It's time for me to shoulder him. Can you get your teammates and your employees say that about you? That is what we should aspire for. And before you think, no, I am not a micromanager. This is not for me. This is for somebody else. Here are 4 questions. If your answer to any of these questions is yes, you are well on the way towards becoming a micromanager. Here. Are you on top of work in progress? Do you know everything? Even if I am here in Sydney, I know what's happening there in my team back there. If you know, wrong. Are you proud of frequent communication? No, even on weekends, I talk to my team. I am on top. I know I am in every group, every chat group. Do you think you are the manager because you know more? Do you think you are the manager because you care more? If your answer is yes to any of these, sorry, you are not on top of the Gen Z millennial crowd who don't want to be managed but want to be led. This is Elon Musk, and in his biography, Walter Isaacson writes, what is his secret for success? That too, success in so many domains. What is his success? And he says, I myself have thought about it. I don't have an answer, but I can guess at one thing. Again and again, I have looked around myself and checked, are there 1,000 fires burning? Are there thousands of fires burning? If thousands of fires aren't burning, I tell myself, I am not innovating enough. There should be so many things that are wrong. He says, this is my policy. I take it as, my policy is, I consider myself wrong at what I am doing, and my only future goal is to be less wrong. How many of us have the guts to start from a point like that? All afternoon, we kept hearing about delivering houses on time, running presentations on time, schedules on time, but we still have slippages. Why? Why do projects slip? It could be in software, it could be in hardware, it could be in the world of bits, it could be in the world of atoms, but why? Here is a story between a hen and a pig. They are good friends. And the hen proposes, hey pig, we should open a restaurant. And the pig is interested. Okay, I'm not sure, what would we call it? And the hen responds with ham and eggs. And that's when pig realizes, oh, that's a big problem for me because, no thanks, I would be committed while you would only be involved. So think about that. Think about how many of you in your team, in your organization, in your hierarchy are committed, which means you're giving a leg and an arm, versus how many of you are laying an egg and getting away. That's a crucial, important question, because only when there is a difference between commitment and involvement do projects really slip. The second reason projects slip, the obsession over efficiency rather than effectiveness. Look at that guy. He has invented an amazing device and wants to give it away for free. No thanks, we are too busy. We are too busy using square wheels. Think about your own organization. What are you running ineffectively simply because you are optimizing on efficiency? Efficiency is if I throw 500 currency notes into the air, efficiency is picking as many as you can. Effectiveness is when I've told you only one of them is a 2,000 rupee note, searching for it and picking that. That's effectiveness. So, are your teammates focused on effectiveness or efficiency? Are you obsessing as a manager, as a founder, as a director over effectiveness or efficiency? The third reason projects fail or projects get delayed, this comes from the world of software, but I'm sure you can relate to it. It goes, delivery of projects on time and walking on water, both are easier when they are frozen. Delivering a particular specification and walking on water. Both of them need to be frozen for any work to be done. I really love this thing. The fourth reason projects fail and struggle, we make the classic mistake of adding more people to a delayed project. How many of you have done that? I have done that. A project is delayed, we throw in more people. There is Metcalfe's law, which is not going to let you get away. Metcalfe's law says the complexity of a particular network is proportional to the square of the number of entities in them. Because if there are only 3 people, there are only 3 connections. But if there are 4, there are 17 connections, and so on and on, n squared. Which is why on the right you see a chart, number of people and time. If you add a few people to a project, the project speeds up. But then, thrilled by it, if you throw in more people, it actually gets worse. So many government projects, we see this happening. We feel paradoxical because if n people could do it, 2 n people should do it in half the time. Not really so, because communication goes kaput. The Mythical Man-Month is a software book written by an IBM great, Fred Brooks, in 1970. But even today, essays he has written ring true. And one of the poignant essays he has written is about software delivery. And he says, many project managers make the mistake of thinking if they want a baby in 1 month, they can marry 9 people. One last bit about software delivery. Now that we know all projects are going to be anyway late, that's my co-founder, Kumar Vembu is his name. He gave a beautiful advice long ago that I still use. He says, if you know that a project is to be delivered on a particular day and you realize it's going to be delivered n days later, the right time to tell about it is not 1 day before. It's not half a day before. It's not even n days before. It is at least n plus 1 days before. So you can do that even with weeks or years or hours. If I am the lead that you give me, early warning, should be more than the lag that the project has. I thought that was great commonsensical advice. That's where you have to put it. Not there, there perhaps, or there. Finally, Kabir has said, "Dire dire re mana, dire sab kuch hoy, mali sinche sau gada, ritu aaye pal hoy, fal hoy." Even if you pour 100 buckets of water, it's going to bear fruit only when it is ready. And when it is ready, you can't stop it yourself. That's such a beautiful line. What if? See, there is this difference between running trains on time and laying train tracks through jungles. One is about efficiency, on time, consistency. The other is adventure, exploration. I'm sure you want to do both of those. So let's do what if. Listen to this amazing speech.
This is our goal. And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We choose to go to the moon not because they are easy, not because that job is easy, but because that job is hard. What Kennedy did then was this. He said, hey, I don't know. Nobody has gone there. Somebody has to go there first. I want to be there first. If it is possible, I want to be the person to do it. And in that process, I will improve my system. That was his aim. They call it the X company. It's actually a subset, a secret subset of Google, the Alphabet new company. It has got a secret project team called X. They call it the Moonshot company. Because the Moonshot is something far beyond anything that anybody has attempted till now. That's the Moonshot. Take a huge problem, take a problem that's faced by humanity, come up with a radical solution, unusual, different solution, and at a time when a particular technology is peaking, it's about to bloom and burgeon. That overlap, that is the Moonshot. Here are a couple of moonshots they did. Vertical garden farming. It was supposed, hydroponics and so on. It was supposed to be the answer because we are running out of space and we are running out of food. But this didn't work out. This did way more. Driverless cars, mapping the whole environment around you, finding out even in complete darkness, brakeless, steeringless, driverless cars. And this was called Project Loon. Loon means mad. They called it Project Loon, balloon. This is internet served on a balloon. Even if you are stuck in the middle of Sahara or in the middle of the Amazon forest, I will serve internet through radio balloons. This is the CEO of that sub-company called X. His name is Astro Teller. And he came up with a beautiful idea, probably you can use it too. He calls it the pre-mortem. Post-mortem is after it dies. Pre-mortem is assume it dies. Kill it. That's the pre-mortem. The pre-mortem is for all the people who have the morbid pleasure of seeing it die. So they will come up. We're going to do a pre-mortem of this project. People will want to come and see how it's going to be killed. It's the anonymous speak out. You can say, you can set up a system, digital or even physical, where they can voice their opinion without being known who is saying it. And yes, somebody is going to say, the emperor is not wearing clothes at all. I use that picture, the hen and those two eggs, to remind you of an amazing quote by a biologist who said about evolution. He said, the hen is just an egg's way of making a better egg. How does that sound? So a book is J.K. Rowling's way of becoming a better J.K. Rowling. A movie is Mani Ratnam's way of becoming a better Mani Ratnam. So when you stop obsessing about that immediate goal and start looking inwards, introspectively, I am going to become a better whatever by doing the next iteration of whatever I'm capable of doing. A hen is just an egg's way of making a better egg. Think about that. Astro Teller, the CEO, says, we do not consider any project a failure as long as the reason it fails already came out during the pre-mortem. It's a failure only if the pre-mortem did not list possible reasons it could fail. That's the pre-mortem. All right, we need to work with people. So here are some tips that I have gained over the years, reading books, meeting people, working with people, selecting the wrong people, about identifying talent. First, we all need to understand times have changed. The top-down has given birth to the bottom-up. The CEO is not the person we all work for. The CEO works for us. He takes care of us. That's the servant leadership approach. You search on Google for leadership, 60% of the time you'll get this picture. But this picture doesn't tell you who the leader is. We make the mistake of assuming the one up ahead is the leader and he is helping everybody else below. Sorry, no. Typically, to help a person climb a mountain, you need to push from underneath. You need to be okay staying where you are and allow the other person sometimes to put their foot on your head and climb. And then if that person is good, friendly, helpful, they will lift you up afterwards. So you should be ready for that second position. And these days, with the pace of change and the amount of information available, exposure available, new entries into the company will run circles around you, will perform magic if only you let them. Let's understand that. There's a beautiful book by Ricardo Semler. He is still the CEO of Semco. It's an oil, natural gas, construction, megalith company in Brazil. And look at the names. The names themselves will kind of tell you what kind of person he is. The 7-day weekend, Ricardo Semler's Maverick, and so on. He's famous, by the way, for coming up with a salary package system in Semco where you could set your own salary. You could say. And you could set your own number of days at work. In the 70s and 80s, not post-COVID, in the 70s and the 80s. In the Maverick book, he talks about a specific style of interviewing, which I think more companies and more organizations should adopt. Typically, when somebody is to be interviewed for that green circle, they'll be interviewed by the person they are going to report to. Yes, that's a no-brainer. Probably by the CEO or the head of that hierarchical tree, and probably by somebody on the peer side above them. Another manager will probably be invited and say, hey, give me your thoughts about this person. But at Semco, when they interview this person, yes, they will invite peers. People who are playing similar roles in the organization are invited. Not just that. People who will be reporting to them. I am going to be reporting to you. I would like to know what kind of person you are, what your philosophy is, what your cultural approach is. And in fact, even further down, we are going to be reporting to you in a second level. We want to know. Semco pioneered this. I have tried it in my own team. Works wonders. It should be respectful, of course. It should be candid, of course. But consider trying it. Don't be the quiz master. Ask a question, get an answer, ask a question, get an answer, ask a question, get an answer. We're not doing ChatGPT questioning here. Don't be the talk bot. You tell everything that you know, and that person says yes or no. That's not how you interview. Don't be a tension tyrant. Many of us do this without realizing. We think somebody came up with the analogy of a tea bag, okay? To get the real essence out of it, they need to be put in hot water or something like that. Foolish, because that's not what they are going to do every day at work. Every day at work, you as the CEO or the founder is going to try and create an environment as conducive, as friendly, as warm as possible, so that they can put up their best work. So do not do this and push them to a corner and make them regret having come to your company. Also, don't fall for that experience myth. Because many times, when we look at a person, there are some who come with amazing experience, but at such a young age. But there are others too. When they claim they are 20 years experienced, they are 20 times 1 year experience. Because they have been doing the same thing over and over again. They haven't grown really. So don't fall for that experience myth. Jack Ma, you know how he learned English? He's an English teacher, by the way. You know how he learned English? He was a Chinese guide, tour guide. An Australian, yes, an Australian, with his kid came there. They became friends. And Jack Ma kept writing letters to that boy. but he would write letters leaving 2 lines in between, and that guy would correct his English and respond back. That's how we learnt English. Oprah was raped. As a teenage girl, she was raped. Mark Zuckerberg, before he became who he is today, founder of Facebook, you know, when he got his first computer at the age of 10, you know what software he wrote first? His dad was a dentist. Dad lived across the dentist's office. Whenever somebody came to the dentist's office, the receptionist had to run over and call the dad. He created software that he could, the first Zuckbot he called it. Zuckbot was Zuckerberg's bot for messaging dad that somebody has come to the dentist's office. And Bill Gates, his first exposure to computers was, he couldn't afford a computer. He came to HP and said, give me computer time on your system. I will earn it by finding bugs in your system. So he will find a problem and HP will give him 10 hours. He'll find one more problem, HP will give him 10 more hours. The reason I brought these 4 up, there are stories like this in each and every one of us. But where do you write that in a resume? You can't write that in a resume. So when somebody comes to you and shows their resume, move it aside and ask them to present their story. Tell us about you. Let's get over coffee, let's have a discussion. It's not an evaluation of, has this person met a checklist of items? Because these will not come out in a typical resume. Culture is important. You need to get the people together. You need to get them to work together, paper over their differences, and still make it happen. So here are some takeaways that I want to share with you. In horse training, remember, the horse is probably 5 times more powerful and stronger than you, faster than you, sometimes taller than you, but still the horse obeys, listens, understands. And one of the important techniques they use in horse training is a simple law. That law says, make the correct behavior easy and the wrong behavior hard. That's all. Here are some examples. To log in, you don't even need to remember a password. It's just your finger. It's remembering it. You must have noticed, wherever you go on the internet, log in via Facebook. And Facebook is already logged in. So I just need to press a button. This is called friction removal or lubrication. Here are some examples. This is a famous book called Nudge, where researchers found out, rather than laying out laws and rules, rather than push, they can nudge. All they had to do in Google, for example, which is famous for its perks and giveaways and employee-friendly plans, all they had to do to prevent employees from hogging all the candy and chocolate and going unhealthy binge, all they had to do was keep the nuts in bowls easy to reach and the candy locked up in a cupboard out of hand. That's all. You can still get the candy. But what's easy to reach? The nuts. That's the nudge I'm talking about. Trash separation in Japan, now it's happening everywhere. Right there at source, that's a nudge again. Hey, put the right one. In fact, if you notice, the holes themselves give you an indication. Hey, this is not for bottles. This is not for paper. Right there. The cat's eye on the highway, if you're going properly, you're not disturbed. The moment you nod off or you take a light left or right, duck, 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 duck. Immediately it tells you, hey, something's going wrong. The reflectors, they don't need the bumps really. But the bumps are there to guide you. They are the guardrails that come into action only when you make a mistake. This is in Amsterdam. They called it the urinal fly. It's a sticker. It's a sticker that's laid out, if you notice there, that's a fly. Sticker of a fly. So much spillage and dirtying and wasting was saved because now we had something to aim at. That's all. This is the nudge. This is the nudge I'm talking about. We're all in construction here, so you will really love this example. When Steve Jobs acquired Pixar and the new Pixar building was coming up, there was this design department, the animation department, the marketing department, the software engineering department, and such a large facility, each in their own world. And Steve Jobs called the architect and said, the restrooms will have to be in the foyer, in the ground floor only. One would wonder why. But later, after Steve Jobs' death, in Lasseter, the founder of Pixar, writes about it. He says, we were in our own world. The designers never talked about whether something is possible technologically. The marketers never understood what the designer's intent was because they never had to come out of their place and talk to lesser human beings. But when I got them all to use the same toilet, unexpected random interactions happened and so much creativity blossomed out of it. He writes, in user experience and also in outdoor landscaping, there is this concept called a desire path. See, you imagine something beautifully curving all the way around and grass lawns here and grass lawns there. You lay it, pave it, hand over, and then go. You come back a year later, you notice that the walkers have made their own path crossing over diagonally. Because that is the desire path. I'm saving time. I can't be made to go all around every time. This is the desire path. So these days, if you want to design a beautiful outdoor experience in universities and colleges in the West, they build the buildings, they don't lay the pavements. They come back a year later, notice what the desire paths are, and then pave over them. Because that is the knowledge of the crowd, that is the intelligence of the crowd that you need to learn from. There is this place near Pune called Shani Shingnapur. Some of you will probably know it. It's a place where no theft has happened. No theft. Houses don't have locks. And if you look at it, there is a beautiful lock right there. Because it's a village, and the thief also has to live in that village, and the thief's house also cannot have a lock, where will he hide the stuff he has stolen? Right? That's a beautiful, self-contained logic right there. So lawmakers, please note, right thing easy, wrong thing hard. Thank you. I have about 7 minutes, and that's about being the boss. Good boss, bad boss, dead boss. Sounds odd? That's the name of a book. The only good boss is my dead boss, is the name of a book. Let's start by watching this video.
Me half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Oh, I love to go off fishing in a river or a creek, but I don't enjoy it half as much as dancing cheek to cheek.
management need not be always that gruff, unhappy person being given the job that they are perfectly suited for. This is how you start becoming a manager. You first start by becoming a follower. You do what you're told to do. And then you get the opportunity to sit with another person, probably come up with things that you can do. That's the collaborator. Then you become the instructor. As an instructor, you can't come up with amazing, innovative, out-of-the-box ideas, but you're a great messenger. Hey, top management has told us to do this. Please do this. That kind of stuff. Then you become a manager, and then you become an influencer. Influencer is a person who walks the talk without force, enforcing something, getting them to play along is an influencer. And at the top of it all is the leader that we all want to be. This lady, Julie Zoho, she was all of 25 years old. She was a designer in Facebook. And suddenly one morning when she comes to work, her manager calls her and says, all those 7 people that you were working with, the 7 designers, you're going to manage them from tomorrow. Suddenly, out of the blue, she is being made a manager of her peers. And she has written that into a book, The Making of a Manager. It's got some beautiful visuals that I want to share with you. The first realization she says is, managers are made, not born. There is nothing innate, inborn in anybody. There are 2 messages there. Yes, anybody can become a manager. But also, everybody who wants to become a manager needs to go through that struggle, that engine of creation. She talks about the art of feedback and says, this is perhaps the worst thing any manager will ever do. Hey, performance review is here. Let's look at what you have been doing the past year. That's what we all do. But no, that's not what you should do. What you should do instead is switch to micro-messaging. Let's share feedback about the thing you did in the meeting this morning. That's when the message is hot. That's when the employee gets an opportunity to react and make amends. Why couldn't you tell this to me 12 months ago? Why did you make me wait 12 months? Underperform, bring the company down too. That's the beauty. Managing yourself, we often forget, is a great and important aspect of any management. You need to first look at yourself, look inside yourself, understand whether you're managing time, resources, energies properly, and if you're stuck, not lie like this guy, instead open up to a friend, to a confidant, to a peer, and say, hey, I am stuck, can you help? This is very important. You cannot lead by saying, I need you and your team to do X, Y, and Z. Instead, here is the situation. What do we do now? Got it, my team and I are going to do X, Y, and Z. That's when it becomes a dialogue. That's when you give that employee an opportunity to shine, to perform, and to demonstrate their own elevation, innovation, and inspiration. Finally, management is not a summit that you reach. I did it. Go me. I have become a manager. No. Instead, that's a great vantage point. It gives you a perspective about the company, about how things are happening, about what to do next that you didn't have till now. That perspective is what is important. I read the Mahabharata in Tamil. Every day I read a chapter of it with my mom. And in this particular scene, Yudhishthira, who is insulted, Draupadi, who is insulted, there is a moment where Yudhishthira says, in fact, looking back, I am actually happy I had to go through this. What? Everybody is surprised. And Yudhishthira clarifies. Because this is the first time I was seen as a human being, not as a king, not as the eldest brother, but I was brought down from a pedestal, and only then everybody opened up and listed all the mistakes I had been doing from since I was a child. Because till then he was the silver spoon guy, the crown prince. Nobody could do anything to him. But here I am, naked, all my powers gone, all my possessions gone. Finally, somebody is seeing me for who I am. And thank you. Similar story in King Canute. He's an English king, Danish king. The story goes that he was a fool and he said he could stop the water. That's not the real story. The real story is he was very wise. But all his courtiers and all his ministers were sycophants, praising him for no reason. And he wanted to teach them a lesson. So he took them all to the shore and said, I'm going to tell the water to stop. What will happen now? The courtiers said, the water will stop, sire. It will. And when the waters rolled in, they wet his feet. And that's when the king teaches everybody a lesson that no, I'm not all powerful. Can you do that with your teammates? As a boss, can you show you are vulnerable? Can you show you are human? It is not wrong to be human. Can you expose your weak underside? Or are you always going to be ironclad? Robots are anyway coming. Can you do that? Finally, here is another movie I want to share with you. It's called World War Z. I have put subtitles. Please read along.
Jürgen Warmbraum, high-ranking official in the Mossad, described as sober, efficient, not terribly imaginative. And yet, you build a wall because you read a communique that mentions the word zombie?
Well, with a book like that, I'd be skeptical as well. In the 30s, Jews refused to believe they could be sent to concentration camps. In 72, we refused to fathom we'd be massacred in the Olympics. In the month before October 1973, we saw Arab troop movements, and we unanimously agreed they didn't pose a threat. Well, a month later, the Arab attack almost drove us into the sea. So we decided to make a change.
Change.
The 10th man. If 9 of us look at the same information and arrive at the exact same conclusion, it's the duty of the 10th man to disagree. No matter how improbable it may seem, the 10th man has to start digging with the assumption that the other 9 are wrong.
And you were that 10th man.
Precisely.
In your company, do you have a 10th man? If you have a team of 10 people and 9 of them agree completely about something, the 10th man should blindly say, I veto, we need to dig for more information. See, if you are going to sit when I sit and stand when I stand, I don't need you, I already have a shadow. There has to be an independent line of thought, and to have that, you need to have somebody who dissents. In other words, do you have somebody you're afraid of in your team? If you don't, probably you don't have a great team. Think about that. Final thought, this is Carl Lippert, and he is an AI engineer, but he has also worked in construction, mechanics, mechanical engineering, and physical atoms. He has written a beautiful article recently. I can share that link with you later if you want, where he says, finally the time has come for the world of atoms to pick up again. The great inventions of the past 50 years were all about digits and bits, the internet, email, video conferencing, Bitcoin, and so on. But now, and AI, of course, AI. But now the time has come. AI is going to eat all software. If anything humans are going to be good at doing, it is going to be in the world of atoms. Because he says, today, a chess-playing computer can defeat the world's best chess player. But even today, a robot has not been invented that can pick a chess piece and place it carefully elsewhere without knocking out, like it's doing, without knocking out other pieces. The world of atoms is the last frontier for robots, for smart vehicles, he says. So probably that's a great message to leave behind. You are probably best positioned in the age of AI to take it to the next level. Thanks a lot, everybody.
If there are any questions for Mr. Dandapani, we can either take it now or we can take it later. Once we finish.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic session. Thank you so much, Mr. Dandapani, for offering us your valuable solutions to transforming productivity. In fact, I felt it was so interdisciplinary what you said. We can apply the same rules to so many different sectors, and it was really an eye-opener. And I think to set up meaningful systems is everything. So ladies and gentlemen, let's say goodbye and thank you very much. I now invite Mr. Sridharan Swaminathan and Mr. Raja Srinivas on stage to thank Mr. Dandapani for his insightful session. Thank you.